He was buried in 26th place with 24 laps to go. The guy directly ahead of him had fresh tires. The guy ahead of that guy had a points lead and absolutely nothing to lose. And Shane Van Gisbergen still won by 7 seconds. 7. Not by a bumper. Not by a photo finish. By 7 full seconds after starting his final stint at the back of the field. But here's the thing, the win itself, as ridiculous as it was, is not even the most interesting part of what happened at Watkins Glen. Because what SVG said when the mic got put in his face, what the second-place finisher quietly admitted about SVG's pace, and what the 19-year-old who nearly hijacked the entire narrative revealed about his own day, that is what nobody is actually digging into. And that is exactly what we're getting into right now. Let me set the scene properly, because context matters here. SVG did not stumble into this win. He was not lucky. He did not inherit it because the leader had a mechanical issue or made a mistake. He went out and took it from people. For the first 60 laps of this race he was controlling the field. 74 of 100 laps led total. Clean through traffic. Smooth on restarts. The kind of performance where you watch it live and think, okay, this one's done, let's see who finishes second. And then lap 60 happened. A caution flag came out and it split the strategy of the entire field right down the middle. 9 cars decided to stay out. Everybody else came to pit road, and that group included SVG. When his team made that call, it meant he was going to come back out buried deep in traffic with a big deficit to make up and a finite number of laps to do it. When he got back on track and saw where he was, he got on the radio and made it very clear he was not happy. His crew chief Stephen Doran told him to settle down. Told him the cars ahead were going to be struggling. Worn tires, fuel conservation, drivers nursing their machinery instead of pushing. Told SVG that he was about to have fresh rubber, full fuel, and clear air once he cleared the field. SVG, by his own admission later, did not fully believe it. And then he started driving anyway. What happened over those next 24 laps was genuinely something. 29.2 seconds erased. He caught Ty Gibbs. He caught Connor Zilisch. He caught Michael McDowell. He passed all of them and he did not look back once. He crossed the finish line with a 7-second gap back to second place. The broadcast commentator said, and this was not hyperbole, that what they had just witnessed was one of the greatest performances in the history of road racing in NASCAR. I think that's right. And I think most people moved on from it way too quickly. Because here's what SVG actually said when he got to the microphone. He did not come off that car punching the air and talking about how dominant they were. He came off quiet. Almost like he was still processing it himself. He said the car had not been good in practice. Said qualifying turned something around. Said his crew chief made great calls. And then he said the thing that actually got me, he said he wasn't sure it was going to work even while he was doing it. Think about that. He's hunting down 25 cars in 24 laps, setting the fastest laps of the race, and somewhere inside his helmet he's still going, I don't know if this lands. That is not the mindset of a guy coasting on talent. That is someone who has learned to operate at maximum capacity inside genuine uncertainty. That is a different kind of competitor. Now I need to take a minute here because this win carries weight that goes beyond the race result. This was SVG's first Cup Series win in the number 97. And if you don't know the story behind that number, you need to. His father, Robert Van Gisbergen, raced under 97 for years. Shane grew up watching that number on cars. When he started racing himself he took it on, carried it through motocross, through speedway, all the way through the Supercars Championship in Australia where he won 80 races and 3 championships with it. The 97 is not a sponsor decision or a team assignment. It is a tribute to his dad. It is a family legacy that he has carried across multiple continents and multiple disciplines. When Trackhouse owner Justin Marks told Shane he could run the 97 in Cup for 2026, his father wrote him a letter to announce it. SVG could not get through reading that letter out loud. So when he crossed that finish line at Watkins Glen, on his birthday weekend, his birthday is May 9th, the race was May 11th, in the 97, for the second consecutive year at that exact track, you understand why he looked the way he looked. Some wins are just results. That one was something else entirely. Alright, stay with me here, because what Michael McDowell said after finishing second is the most underrated quote to come out of this entire race weekend. McDowell had a genuinely good day. The 71 car needed it badly after a rough stretch of races and he drove smart, worked his way back from 27th at one point, gave everything he had. But here's what he said that nobody is making a big deal of. He said that when he and SVG came out of the pits together for that final stint, same tires, same moment, side by side on the exit, SVG was gone almost immediately. And then McDowell said he felt like SVG was pacing himself off him. Like he would gap him, ease off, then pull away again the moment McDowell tried to close. He said it felt like SVG was using him as a reference point rather than actually racing him. The guy who finished second is telling you that the guy who finished first was never actually being challenged. That is alarming for the rest of this field. Now let's talk about Connor Zilisch, because this kid deserves more than a footnote. 19 years old. Qualified 5th. Ran inside the top 5 for most of the race. Was genuinely door-to-door with Ty Gibbs through long stretches of the middle stage. He was on course for at minimum his first career Cup Series top 5 finish, possibly better, and he had earned it. Then with the finish line almost inside a tire cut, he fell back to 20th. His radio call was measured. Almost too measured for a teenager who had just watched a great result dissolve in the final laps. He said he wasn't entirely surprised given how long they'd been on those tires. But you could hear what was underneath that composure. Here's the bigger picture though. A 19-year-old running that pace against that field, managing tire life, talking strategy like a veteran, that is not a bad day. That is a preview of what is coming from this kid over the next few years. Remember this race when he wins one. Now while SVG was doing victory donuts and Zilisch was giving a gracious interview, something very different was happening on the other side of that garage. Bubba Wallace and Christopher Bell ended up face to face after the race, and it was not a friendly conversation. Both had bad days. Whatever happened between them on track came with them into the paddock. The broadcast caught it. The commentator joked they had 2 weeks to sort it out before the next points race. But here is why this matters beyond just two drivers letting off steam. Christopher Bell is a legitimate championship contender this year. He cannot afford distraction. He cannot afford bad blood and drama bleeding into the second half of the regular season. In a year with no clear frontrunner, where the playoffs are shaping up to be genuinely chaotic, clean relationships and clean focus inside your camp are everything. Bad days happen. Heated conversations happen. But Bubba Wallace does not let things go quietly, which means this subplot is not finished. If you made it this far, you already know this is the channel that actually goes deeper. Subscribe if you want that every single week. And drop in the comments, is SVG the greatest road course driver in NASCAR history? Because after Sunday, that is not even a controversial take anymore. See you at the next one.